Okay, welcome to the multi-digit array practice video. You will draw arrays that represent the following multiplication problems. We are using the drawings to help you see a more complete picture of what happens when we multiply, a more complete picture than what you see when you do a standard multiplication algorithm. Please put one problem in a quarter section on your notebook paper and turn that in on Thursday. Okay, here is your first problem, 14 groups of 21. Please draw the array that represents this problem by drawing place value blocks. Then use our recording strategy to record your partial products from this array and add to find the final product. Please stop the tape now and do your work, and then turn the tape back on to check your solutions. Okay, you should have completed your drawing of this array. This is your opportunity to check your work. If you find you've made a mistake, please correct it. I have 14 rows of 21. Of course, I have to decompose by place value, so I decompose 14 into 10 plus 4. Oops. Plus 4. And the 21 into 20 plus 1. I know that this is going to make 4 smaller arrays. And the first one is 10 groups of 20. Well, 100 flat has 10 rows of 10. So I draw 100 flat, but that's only 10 rows of 10. Now I need another 10 rows of 10. So I draw another 100 flat. And of course, together it would give me 10 rows of 20. I move to the next array. I need 10 rows of 1. And I know that a 10 rod has 10 units, so it's 10 rows of 1. Then I need 4 rows of 20. So I do a 10 rod here. Here's 1 row of 20, 2 rows of 20, 3 rows of 20, and 4 rows of 20. And then for the final array, I would need 4 rows of 1. 1, 2 rows of 1, 3 rows of 1, 4 rows of 1. So there is the drawing of the array. Now I just need to record to find my final answer. I have 14 rows of 21. I decompose the 14 into 10 plus 4 and decompose the 21 into 20 plus 1. Of course, this very first array, I have 10 rows of 20. And then in the next array, I have 10 rows of 1. And then in the array down here, I have 4 rows of 20. And then I have 4 rows of 1. 10 rows of 20, this row, of course, is 200. And this, of course, is 10. And this is 4 groups of 20 is 80. And 4 groups of 1 is 4, with a final answer of 200. That would be 9 tens, or 90, and then 4. So the final answer is 294. Here is your next problem, 22 groups of 21. Please draw the place value pieces within an array that would represent this problem, and then record to show the solution. Stop the tape while you do your work, then restart the tape to check your answer and to make any corrections. Okay, let's find a solution to this one. I have 22 groups of 21. So it's 22 rows of 21. Decomposed by place value. 22 breaks into 20 and 2. Ooh, that's a funny 2. Let's try again. 2. And 21 needs to be moved. Decomposes into 20 and 1. So my first array would be 20 groups of 20, and 100 flat would be 10 rows of 10. So I need a second 100 flat to have 10 rows of 20. But I need 20 rows of 20. So I'll need another 100 flat here, and that would give me 20 rows of 20. And then my next array would be 20 rows of 1. Here's 10 rows of 1 and another 10 rows of 1, another rod. And then the bottom arrays would be 2 rows of 20. Here's 10 rod and a 10 rod. That's 2 rows of, or 1 row of 20. And then here's the second row of a 10 rod and a 10 rod. So it's 2 rows of 20. And then in this array, it would be 2 rows of 1. Here's 1 row of 1 and 2 rows of 1. Now I want to record what I've done. The problem is 22 groups of 21. I decompose 22 into 20 plus 2 and 21 into 20 plus 1. In that very first array, we have 20 rows with 20 in each row. And then in the next one, we have 20 rows of 1. Oops. And then there's 2 rows of 20, 2 rows of 20. And the final array is 2 rows of 1. Ooh, my plus line got lost. Okay, 20 rows of 20. This one, of course, that's 400. Plus 20 rows of 1, which would be 20, plus the 2 rows of 20, which of course is 40, plus the 2 rows of 1, which is 2. Then I have 4 hundreds, 6 tens, and 2 ones for an answer of 462. Very good. Okay, here's problem number 33, 32 groups of 13. So off you go, draw the array, record your solutions, and then check your answer to see if it's correct. If something's not correct, then please fix it. Okay, you should have completed your response. Now let's check and see how you did. There we have 32 groups of 13. So the 32 is 32 rows, and 32 decomposes into 30 plus 2 more, and 13 decomposes into 10 and 3. So I want 30 rows of 10. So I know that 100 flat has 10 rows of 10, and then I have 20 rows of 10, and then finally 30 rows of 10. All right, so that's my first array. I'm going to go over here to my second array, which would be 30 rows of 3. So again, a 10 rod, that's 10 rows of 1, 10 rows of 2, 10 rows of 3. And now I have 20 rows of 3, and now 30 rows. Oops, of 3. Pretty funky looking 10 rods. All right, then I go to the next array, which would be 2 rows of 10. So here is 1 row of 10 and 2 rows of 10. Then I need 2 rows of 3. Here is 1, 2, 3. That's 1 row of 3, 1 group of 3. 2 rows of 3. 1, 2, two groups of 3. So that's the drawing that represents this problem. Let's go record it. It's 32 groups of 13. I decompose 32 into 30 plus 2, and decompose 13 into 10 plus 3. And in this very first array, I have 30 rows with 10 in each row. And then I have 30 rows in this array of 3. Oops. And then in this array, it's 2 rows of 10. And finally, we have 2 rows of 3. Great. All right, this array, 30 rows of 10, of course that's 300s because there's 3 flats there. In this one, I have 30 rows of 3, and that's 90. Then it's 2 rows of 10 in this one, which of course is 20. And then 2 rows of 3 over here, which of course is 6. And then my answer is I have 300s, but I have 20 and a 90, which is 110. So I have 400s, 110, and a 6. So the final answer is 460. Please make any corrections in your work. Okay, here's your fourth and final problem in this multiplication video. It is 32 groups of 21. So draw the array, record your solution, and then check your work. Stop the tape now. Okay, you should have completed your work. Let's check and see how you did. Remember, if you have a mistake, to please correct your work. We want 32 rows of 21. So we decompose by place value. 32 breaks down to 30 and 2, and 21 decomposes into 20 and 1. So I need 30 rows of 20 in this first array. Here's 10 rows of 10, 10 rows of 20, 200 flats. And now I've got another 100 flat and another 100 flat. Would give me 20 rows of 20, but I need 30. So here comes another 10 rows. So there's 30 rows of 20. Now I need 30 rows of 1. So here's 10 rows of 1, 20 rows of 1, and now 30 rows of 1 with 3 10 rods. Then I need 2 rows of 20 for this array. Here's 1 row of 10, 1 row of 20, 2 rows of 20. And then I need 2 rows of 1. 1 row of 1, 2 rows of 1. So that is the drawing that represents this problem. Let's record our solution. Problem is 32 groups of 21. 32 decomposes into 30 plus 2, and 21 decomposes into 20 plus 1. So in this very first array, this one, I have 30 rows of 20. And then I have 30 rows of 1. And the next array, I have 2 rows of 20 and 2 rows of 1. All right, so 30 rows of 20, of course, is 600. I can see the 600 flats, plus 30 plus 40 plus 2, with the final answer of 672. All right, good job.